Well, hello everybody. You know, before I've made cowboy candy relish, I've made cowboy candy, you know, the regular sliced cowboy candy, and with jalapenos, and then I started making the cowboy candy pepper jelly. Well, I'm going to make a little bit different type of a jelly today. It's still going to be the hot peppers, but it's going to be jelly. And I'm not going to go exactly by the recipe for cowboy candy, but it's going to be similar. I'm using white vinegar this time instead of the apple cider vinegar. I'm using white sugar instead of brown sugar. So there's a few things that's a little bit different in this recipe than the other one. Right now I've got my jars sterilizing up here. I've got my big thing of white vinegar. I'm going to do one batch at a time because I'm not sure how much I've got here. Right on the money, I guess. Pour a little bit back in there. First of all, you need 1.5 cups of white vinegar. We're going to put that in the pot. Turn the burner on so that'll be getting hot. I'm just going to go one recipe at a time, one batch. And I guess I should have put the sugar in there first, because now my cup is wet. Let's see. 5 to 6 cups of granulated sugar. Hope I got enough sugar. This is a 2 cup. That's 2 cups. 4 cups. And that's about 1.5 cups right there. So that would make it 6.5 cups or 5.5 cups. That's close enough. Don't have to be exact. And then we're going to add our pectin. I've got a 3-ounce package of liquid pectin that I'm going to add to this mixture. And do not use low sugar, you know, the sugar substitutes. You got to use regular sugar for this. And it says 5 to 6 cups, so I've got 5.5 cups in here, so that's good enough. I'm going to go ahead and add the package of pectin. Get it open. I buy mine, my pectin in this package here. That's 6 ounces there, which it's got 2 of these packages in there. There's another one in there for another batch. Get all that good stuff out of there. All the pectin does is help it set up. There's 2 of these boxes in there, and each box, it comes in a 2-pack, 2 boxes together, and there's 6 ounces in each little box, and there's 2 packages in there, so it's 3 ounces each package. Now we need salt, about a half a tablespoon of salt, or half teaspoon of salt. Okay, we're going to have, it says 10 jalapenos, 1 large red bell pepper, 1 large green bell pepper. And I've already put mine in my blender and, you know, mixed it up good, or chopped it up good. So I'm going to get out in here what I think is 10 jalapenos, 1 large red bell pepper, and 1 green bell pepper, which I think is going to be about a cup or 2 cups. I think that's about it. Just dump them right in there, because this is going to be my hot jelly. The other one was real mild. It really wasn't hot at all. You couldn't even tell it was a hot pepper. But this is going to be a hot pepper jelly. And we've got to bring this to a rolling boil. And we're going to boil it 5 to 10 minutes. So we got to bring this to a boil. We've got all our ingredients in there. Bring it to a boil and let it boil at a rolling boil for 5, you know, like 10 minutes. Meanwhile, I'm going to get my jars out. They've been over here sterilizing. Put you right here so you can see. I'm using the little jars this time because this is jelly. I don't want great big quart jars for the jelly. I wanted the small jars. And I will mark this hot pepper jelly. I may get 2 batches out of this, I'm not sure. Maybe I'll have enough to fill all these jars with 1 batch. If not, I'll fix another batch. I like the mild jelly myself. I don't want it to burn my tongue. But I know a lot of people, especially guys, if they're going to eat anything to do with jalapenos, they want them hot. They don't want them mild. They want them hot. Get all my lids out. Yep, I sterilize my lids right along with my jars. It not only sterilizes them, but it softens the little rubber gasket around the top of your lid, and it helps it seal a lot easier if it's a little warm. This one last one out of here. And my little thing came out of the middle of my gasket thing here. Well, I don't know if I'm going to get it back in or not. See if I can get another. I'll need these. I've got a lid that's right inside this rubber gasket thing, and it holds the little oh heck, it holds this little rubber liner open. I'll show you in just a second. Get this out of my hand. But there's a little rubber liner that I bought for the bottom of the canner, and it goes together. But I took one of my jar rings from here and I put it in the very center, and it holds it open. That way it holds the jars level, and it cushions them from the bottom of the pot there. We got to come over here and start stirring our hot pepper vinegar. And I didn't put my apron on. Shame on me. And there's a kind of a big piece of pepper. I'm going to take that out so I can chop it up. I don't care if there's apparent pieces in here, but I don't want them so big that you're going to get one whole mouthful of hot pepper in your jelly. In other words, I don't want a whole little bitty baby jalapeno to get in your mouth at one time. It's not come to a boil yet. Since I took that out, I think I'll add another spoonful of pepper in there. But we just got to bring this to a boil for 10 minutes, and then we'll start putting it in our jars. Get my little jar thing here. Put this over here because I don't want that sugar getting on the top of my stove. It'll be hard to get off when it dries, especially with the stove being hot. You know how that would be. Start putting my jars over here. thought you was inside already. I thought I heard something at the door and it was little Buddy. Got 1 large red bell pepper, 1 large green bell pepper, 10 jalapenos, 1½ cups white vinegar, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 5 to 6 cups of granulated white sugar, and a 3-ounce package of liquid pectin. And it says do not use low sugar or sugar-free pectin at all. And after you chop your peppers, you need to put them in a colander like I've got mine here, right here, and drain all of that liquid out of your peppers. I just pour them in that colander and I set it in the sink and leave it there. And just let it keep dripping. This has not come to a boil yet. And with mine, I've got some green bell pepper and maybe 1 or 2 little bitty red bell peppers, and I've got red jalapenos, I've got red hot peppers, I've got orange hot peppers, I've got green hot peppers, jalapenos. You know, it's a mixture. You don't just have to use the jalapenos. If you've got any other kind of hot pepper, you can mix them up. And that's what I do. I mix it up with whatever I've got in the garden that will equal the same thing as a jalapeno. I'm going to turn that back on so it'll stay hot and be boiling when I put these peppers, these jars in there. You see, there's just a little bit of difference between the jalapeno jelly and the jalapeno cowboy jelly and the other stuff. Not a whole lot of difference. You just use white sugar instead of brown sugar. And there it is. It's starting to come to a rolling boil. And I mean, it's got to come to a rolling boil that when you stir it, it still keeps boiling. It doesn't stop. You don't want it to boil over. And I'm probably going to put another spoonful of peppers in there. But whatever would equal to 10 jalapenos, 1 large bell pepper, and 1 large green bell pepper is what you can put in there. Okay, it's come to a rolling boil. It's on, I can see it, see the clock. Okay, when it reaches up to the 10, it'll be ready. You want to make sure you drain your peppers because that added liquid in there will affect the way it sets up. It won't set up as jelly if you have too much liquid in there. You'll end up with jam or preserves instead of jelly, which it's all edible, it's all good, so don't worry if that does happen. My first batch that I made set up real good, but the second batch, y'all know in my video I added too much vinegar. And it set up a little, but it's more like a jam than it is a jelly. You'll need to use a 5 at least a 5 to 6 quart pot to cook this in so it doesn't boil over. That's one reason I didn't want to double the batch to begin with, because I wasn't sure how far it would boil up, and I didn't want to run the risk of this stuff boiling all over my stove. That would be a mess with all that sugar in it. I think I turned the heat down a little bit too much. Need my glass measuring cup to do my dipping with, I think. Well, no, I can use my dipper. I think that's what I used before. My soup dipper. My metal one. That way it doesn't melt down in there. I'm going to run my finger on this hot spatula. And it's a little warm. It's not burning hot to your tongue. I think since a lot of my hot peppers were little, they weren't mature yet, they weren't quite as hot as they could have been. It's still a mild, it's not hot. But the more you cook it, the more the hot will come out of the pepper and get into the jelly. It's got a little while longer to cook. And sometimes it takes a good 24 hours for it to set up, because it's got to cool down, and then the pectin will do its thing when you got it in the jar. And you'll be able to see the peppers in the jelly. Like the first one I made, you hardly see any peppers in it at all. because it's not hot. It has the jalapeno taste, but it's not a hot pepper jelly. Pepper's getting up in my sinuses. It's sure loosening my sinuses up, y'all. I'm watching the clock. You want it to a boil to where it looks like it's foaming. It's foaming up. You can see that? It looks like a foam at the top. You want it foaming like that for about 5 to 10 minutes. If it says 5 to 10 minutes, I usually leave mine for at least 10 minutes. That 5 to 10 minutes or 15 minutes is not only going to activate the pectin, but it'll cook your peppers to where all the heat and the flavor from the peppers go into the liquid. It makes sure that all of your sugars are dissolved. And this makes great Christmas gifts. If you have people that like hot peppers or jalapenos, then they'll like this. Especially the guys do. A few more minutes. It boils out a little bit of the excess liquid too, to boil it for 10 to 15 minutes. Like I said, if they tell me 5 to 10, I usually go 15 or 13 at least. I go a little over the time. I'd rather go a little over the time than under. Now, a lot of people don't can their jellies and can their cowboy candy, but I do, because I'm not going to eat it all like this week. And if you can it, you can keep it a year or more. Sometimes 2 years. Sometimes indefinitely. Depends on how it's sealed. Little buddy, what do you think? He's here at my feet. It's raining today, so he'd rather be inside. Lucky doesn't care. He's probably out in the greenhouse chilling. He likes getting in the greenhouse, and I leave the door, the bottom of it, open a little bit, so he doesn't have any problem going in there. But it keeps him dry, keeps him out of the wind, keeps him safe. Okay, now I'm going to cut it off, and I'm going to let it stop boiling and cool down just a tiny bit. And then I'm going to start putting it in my jars. I want it to quit boiling. Turn that just a little bit because that handle is in my way. I try to fill it up to the rim of the jar. You leave about just where the rim starts on the jar. That leaves about a ½ inch. I know they say to leave a ¼ inch head space, but I usually just fill it up to the rim of the jar. And what I mean by the rim, where this edge starts, right here, I fill it up to here. And see, it gives all this head space. And they say a ¼ inch, which would be halfway that rim, but I just do it right to there. I mean, you can do yours however you want. I think I'm going to have to make another batch. This is not going to be enough to fill my jars up. But it's looking good. It looks good in the jars. I've had these peppers sitting on the table in that bowl for about a week now, ever since I picked the last of the peppers out there. I mean, I still got some peppers. They're just not big enough to even think about picking. So I'll have a few more. And a few more tomatoes if the cold doesn't kill them before they can ripen up a little bit. Oh, I may have to fill it up because this made six jars. And I've got maybe a ½ jar left in here. So I might fill it up a little bit more. Yeah, it only used up 6 of my jars. So I'm going to make another batch. But I'm going to go ahead and get these in the canner. Always take a clean, wet dishcloth. And wipe your jars. because if there's any food debris or anything on the lid, sometimes it'll keep it from sealing properly. Woo, that's hot. But I want to let you see what it looks like before I put it in there. And see, it all floats to the top. The peppers do, but they'll go down because they're going to cook for another 10 minutes in this pot, in this canner. They'll gradually go down a little bit. Whew, that jar's hot. But I'm going to get this to boiling. And I'm going to go ahead and sterilize, can those 6, and then I've got my 6 more over here that I'm going to make my another batch. So, while those are canning, I'm going to go ahead and mix up another batch. Let's see, we got to get 1.5 cups of white vinegar. Well, I don't want to go over. That's 1.5 cups. I'm going to go ahead. I went and got my sugar. I had to get 3 little bags, but at least I've got 5 cups to 6 cups of sugar. Go ahead and get this turned back on. I got my vinegar, my peppers, my salt. All I need now is to add my sugar and my pectin. And I'll have 6 more jars of my candy or my jelly. Oh, I'm out of it today, I'll tell you. I've been trying to rush, get things done. And when you do that, you know, my mind races. And sometimes what comes out of my mouth is not what I'm thinking. So that's 2. That's 4 cups. So I had it about right. I got 3 just to make sure I had the right amount. And I'll put another 1.5 cups in there, which I think is plenty enough sugar. I don't have to go completely to the 6 cups. There. 1.5. That'll give me sugar for the house and enough sugar for my jelly. Now I'm going to add my other package of pectin. Got to get this heated up to get the sugar melted. So you know, one of these recipes will make 6 half-pint jars of pepper jelly. And the only difference in the two is you use white sugar in this instead of brown. And your spices, you don't add to this like you do your cowboy candy. You just add pectin, vinegar, sugar, your peppers, half a teaspoon of salt, and 3 ounces of pectin. Ooh, there's that big piece of pepper that I didn't chop up. You know what? I'm going to leave it in there. Hopefully it'll be somebody that likes the heat. Getting that, I can chop it up though. Take it out and put it in this plate and chop it up a little bit. I don't think that would be fair to anybody to get that whole big piece of jalapeno in their mouth. I got a couple of pieces in there. Pretty good sized pieces. Yeah, I'll just go ahead and chop that up. I don't mind a hunk, but I don't want the whole pepper. I mean, nobody wants to eat hot pepper jelly with the whole pepper in their mouth. Gotta cut it up a little bit. Yeah, I think that's good. At least it's not a big mouthful of pepper. Not the whole one anyway. Now I'm going to add this other package of pectin, 3 ounces of pectin. And we're going to do just like the first batch. We're going to bring it to a rolling boil and have it at a rolling boil anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes. You don't need to go over 15 minutes. 10 minutes at a good hot rolling boil will do it. Now we've got to bring this to a boil and let it boil. It's not boiling yet. But I think I can take my my other jars of jelly out. I'm going to leave they're already sealing. Oops. They're too hot to hold up to the camera, y'all. I'm afraid I'll drop one or have an accident, so. But you see the jars of pepper jelly back there. We got 6 from the first batch. I'll get 6 more from this second batch. And I'm going to leave that hot. Turn it down just a tiny bit while I get this to going. I mean, this is so simple. I mean, it's not hard at all. Maybe I can hold a jar with this cloth up to the camera so you can see it. Look how clear that is, but it's got peppers in there, and you can't really see the peppers because I'm holding it. Ah. But there you go. That's my first batch of jalapeno jelly. I'm going to let that cool down, and then I'll probably shake it up a little bit before it sets completely, so some of that peppers will go down in the liquid instead of all staying floating at the top. But there you go. That's jalapeno jelly, y'all. Love you. See you on the next one. Bye now. Hot pepper jelly, y'all.